Raccoon stared at 5 credit card statements spread across the table. $23,000. The numbers blurred together. Interest piled on interest. Minimum payments that barely touched the principal. Raccoon had been treading water for 2 years, and the shoreline kept getting further away. There had to be a better way. There had to be a system. What Raccoon didn't know yet was that freedom wasn't about working harder. It was about working smarter. Raccoon sorted the debts by interest rate. The credit card at 24% sat at the top. Below it, another at 19%, then 15%, then 12%. The car loan at 6% sat at the bottom. This was the avalanche method. Attack the highest interest rate first, regardless of balance. Every extra dollar Raccoon could scrape together went straight to that 24% monster. The minimum payments kept the other debts alive, but just barely. Raccoon felt nothing at first. The balance dropped slowly. $30 in interest charges every month fought against every payment. But Raccoon kept the course. Math didn't lie. Every dollar thrown at high interest saved Raccoon from paying $3, $4, $5 down the road. After 8 months, that first card died. Raccoon took the payment that had been going there and rolled it into the 19% card. Now the avalanche picked up speed. The second card fell in 5 months, then the third. By the time Raccoon reached the car loan, the monthly avalanche payment was massive. That 6% loan didn't stand a chance. The avalanche method wasn't about feelings. It was about cold, ruthless efficiency. Raccoon paid the least total interest. Raccoon saved the most money, but it required patience. It required ignoring the number of debts and focusing only on the cost of each one. For Raccoon, who could delay gratification and trust the math, the avalanche was the optimal path. The high-interest debt had been bleeding Raccoon dry, and now the bleeding had stopped. Raccoon tried the avalanche. 3 months in, Raccoon quit. The numbers made sense, but the motivation didn't. Raccoon still saw 5 debts on the list, 5 reminders of failure, 5 chains. So Raccoon sorted by balance. The smallest debt sat at the top, a medical bill, $412. Raccoon attacked it with everything. 1 month later, it was gone. Completely gone. Raccoon crossed it off the list. 4 debts left. The feeling was electric. Raccoon had killed something. Progress was visible. Next came a small credit card, $800. Raccoon threw every spare dollar at it. 6 weeks later, another kill. 3 debts left. Now the payments that had been feeding those 2 small debts rolled into the third. The snowball grew. With each victory, Raccoon started looking for extra money, sold old furniture, picked up overtime, cut subscriptions. Not because Raccoon had to, but because Raccoon wanted to. The momentum was intoxicating. This was the snowball method. Smallest balance first. Ignore the interest rates. Rack up wins. Feed the motivation. By the time Raccoon reached the largest debt, the monthly payment was enormous, and the psychological engine was roaring. Did Raccoon pay more in interest than the avalanche would have cost? Yes, a few $100s more. But Raccoon actually finished. Raccoon didn't quit this time. The snowball method worked because Raccoon was human. Well, Raccoon was Raccoon, but the principle held. Behavior mattered more than math. Small wins created momentum. Momentum created consistency. Consistency created freedom. Raccoon stared at the new list. 7 debts this time. A small store card with a $300 balance but 18% interest. A massive student loan at 4%. A mid-sized credit card at 22%. Raccoon realized something. It didn't have to be all avalanche or all snowball. Raccoon could blend them. Raccoon identified the quick wins. Any debt under $500 went on the hit list first, regardless of interest rate. Knock those out fast. Get the dopamine. Clear the clutter. 3 small debts died in 2 months. Now Raccoon switched. With the small debts gone and motivation high, Raccoon pivoted to the avalanche. The remaining 4 debts were all large. Now interest rate became the tiebreaker. Raccoon targeted the 22% card. Months passed. That card fell. Then the 18%? The hybrid method gave Raccoon the best of both worlds. Early wins built momentum. Then mathematical efficiency took over for the long game. Raccoon also realized another hybrid trick. If 2 debts had similar interest rates, say 16% and 17%, Raccoon picked the smaller balance. The difference in interest cost was negligible. But the psychological win came faster. The hybrid path required self-awareness. Raccoon had to know which fuel worked at which stage of the journey. Early on, Raccoon needed wins. Later, with discipline established, Raccoon could endure the slow grind of high-balance, high-interest elimination. The hybrid method wasn't taught in textbooks, but it worked in the real world, where Raccoon's emotions and discipline both played a role. Raccoon had 4 credit cards, all maxed, all at rates above 19%. The monthly interest alone was $340. Raccoon was paying to stand still. Then Raccoon learned about balance transfers. A new card offer arrived. 0% interest for 18 months. 3% transfer fee. Raccoon did the math. Paying 3% once versus 19% every month for 18 months? No contest. Raccoon transferred the highest rate balances. Suddenly, every payment went to principal. No interest. The debt actually shrank, but Raccoon made a critical rule. The transferred card got locked in a drawer. No new purchases. This wasn't more credit. It was a tactical pause on interest. Raccoon set up automatic payments to kill the balance before the 0% window closed. Month 19 would bring deferred interest on any remaining balance. A trap for the careless. Raccoon also explored consolidation. A personal loan at 9% could absorb all 4 credit cards. One payment, one due date, lower rate. Raccoon applied, approved. The 4 cards became one loan. The credit cards were paid off by the loan. Now came the second critical rule. Raccoon cut up the cards, not closed them. That would hurt the credit score, but removed the temptation. Too many people consolidate and then run the cards back up. They end up with the loan and new credit card debt. Double trapped. Raccoon didn't fall for it. Consolidation and balance transfers were tools. Dangerous tools. Used correctly, they saved Raccoon thousands in interest and simplified the battlefield. Used incorrectly, they just delayed the reckoning and made it worse. Raccoon graduated with $47,000 in student loans, federal loans mostly, a couple private ones. The payment plan was standard 10-year repayment, $612 a month. Raccoon made $32,000 a year. The math didn't work. Raccoon discovered income-driven repayment plans. The payment dropped to $183 based on Raccoon's income and family size. Manageable, but there was a catch. The loan term stretched to 25 years. Interest still accrued. Raccoon would pay far more over time, yet it kept Raccoon afloat now. Raccoon learned that wasn't the only option. Public service loan forgiveness existed. If Raccoon worked for a qualifying nonprofit or government employer and made 120 payments on an income-driven plan, the remaining balance vanished, tax-free. Raccoon got a job at a nonprofit. Every year, Raccoon submitted the employment certification form. Raccoon tracked the payment count obsessively. After 10 years, $31,000 was forgiven. Raccoon had paid $16,000 was forgiven. For the private loans, no forgiveness existed. Raccoon refinanced them, dropped the rate from 8% to 4.2%, cut 2 years off the term. Private refinancing meant giving up federal protections, but Raccoon's income was stable now, and the savings were worth it. Raccoon also learned forbearance and deferment were traps. They paused payments but not interest. That interest capitalized, meaning it was added to the principal. Raccoon avoided it unless absolutely necessary. The student loan labyrinth required strategy. Income-driven plans bought time. Forgiveness programs rewarded patience and qualifying work. Refinancing cut costs for stable borrowers. Each path depended on Raccoon's situation, and Raccoon had to choose wisely. Raccoon ignored the student loan bill. 1 month became 6. 6 became 12. Default happened at month 9. Raccoon thought maybe it would just go away. It didn't. In 2026, the Department of Education resumed aggressive wage garnishment for defaulted federal student loans. The pause from the pandemic was over. One day, Raccoon's paycheck arrived. 15% was missing. Garnishment. No court order needed for federal loans. They just took it. Raccoon's budget collapsed. Rent was late. Utilities got shut off. The garnishment didn't stop. Raccoon panicked and finally called the loan servicer. There was a way out. Loan rehabilitation. Raccoon had to make 9 voluntary payments within 10 months, based on income. The payments were small, $83. After 9 payments, the default status was erased. The garnishment stopped Raccoon's loans returned to good standing. Raccoon could then enroll in an income-driven plan. Another option was consolidation. Raccoon could consolidate the defaulted loans into a new direct consolidation loan, instant exit from default. no rehabilitation wait, but Raccoon lost the chance to remove the default from the credit report. Rehabilitation was slower, but cleaned the record. Raccoon chose rehab, 9 months of discipline. The garnishment ghost lifted. Raccoon learned that ignoring debt didn't make it disappear. It made it worse. Much worse. Default trashed Raccoon's credit score, triggered garnishment, and seized tax refunds. The 2026 enforcement wave caught thousands of borrowers off guard. Raccoon barely escaped. The lesson was brutal, but clear. Engage early, communicate, use the safety nets before default happens. Once the garnishment shadow falls, escape is harder and more expensive. Raccoon had been a cardholder for 3 years, never missed a payment. The interest rate was still 18.9%. Raccoon called the credit card company, asked for a rate reduction. The first representative said no. Raccoon called back the next day. Different representative. Raccoon explained the perfect payment history, mentioned a competing balance transfer offer at 0%. The representative put Raccoon on hold, came back with 13.9%. 5% off. Raccoon saved $63 a month in interest. 1 phone call, 10 minutes. Raccoon did this with 2 other cards. One dropped the rate, one didn't. Batting average mattered less than trying. For the car loan, Raccoon refinanced. Credit score had improved since the original loan. The rate dropped from 7% to 4.3%. Over the remaining term, Raccoon saved $1,900. The process took 2 hours and cost nothing. Negotiation worked because companies wanted to keep customers. A lower rate was better than a customer who left or defaulted. Raccoon had leverage but didn't realize it until Raccoon asked. Raccoon also learned timing. After 12 months of on-time payments, creditors were more flexible. After a credit score jump, refinancing opportunities opened. Raccoon monitored the credit score monthly. When it crossed 700, Raccoon refinanced everything possible. The interest mountain had seemed fixed, immovable, but it wasn't. Rates were negotiable, loans were refinanceable. Raccoon just had to ask, and ask strategically. Not every request worked, but enough did, and each success compounded. Lower interest meant faster payoff. Faster payoff meant more cash flow. More cash flow meant bigger payments on the next debt. The mountain shrank because Raccoon refused to accept the first rate offered. Raccoon knocked out the first debt. Something shifted. Raccoon checked the budget daily, looked for waste, canceled a streaming service, made coffee at home, found an extra $43, threw it at the next debt. This was momentum, not just mathematical, but psychological. Each win made the next fight easier. Raccoon created a visual tracker, a chart on the wall. Every $1,000 paid off got a new mark. Raccoon saw progress. That visibility fueled discipline. Months passed. Debts fell. Raccoon's debt-to-income ratio dropped, started at 62%, dropped to 48%, then 33%. Raccoon wanted to buy a house. Mortgage lenders wanted a debt-to-income ratio below 43%. Raccoon hit it. Pre-approval arrived. The house became possible because Raccoon had eliminated debt strategically. Every debt killed improved 2 things: cash flow and borrowing power. Raccoon also learned to celebrate privately. Each payoff got a small reward. A nice dinner, a day trip. Not expensive, but meaningful. The journey was long, without milestones. Raccoon would burn out. The momentum machine required feeding both logic and emotion. The math had to work or Raccoon would drown in interest. But the feelings had to work too, or Raccoon blended the avalanche's efficiency with the snowball psychology. Raccoon negotiated rates. Raccoon used balance transfers. Raccoon recovered from near default. Every tool, every strategy, every decision built on the last. 3 years after staring at those 5 credit card statements, Raccoon made the final payment. 0 debt. The momentum machine had carried Raccoon all the way to freedom. Raccoon learned that debt freedom wasn't about one perfect method. It was about knowing when to use math, when to use momentum, and when to use both. The path was never straight, but it was always possible. If you found value in Raccoon's journey, hit that like button and subscribe. Drop a comment with your own debt payoff story. Raccoon believes in you. Now go build your momentum machine.